There are moments in history when the sky itself becomes a witness silent, cold, and merciless. November 21st, 2025. Dubai World Central Airport. Thousands of spectators, cameras raised, hearts pounding, waiting to witness glory. But within seconds, triumph turned into terror. India's pride, the HAL Tejas fighter jet, performing at the Dubai Airshow, spiraled out of control and plunged to the earth in a horrifying crash. And the entire world watched in shock. What caused the crash of India's indigenous fighter jet? Was it pilot error? Technical failure? A miscalculated maneuver? Or was it something far more complex? Tonight, we uncover the truth behind the most tragic moment of the 2025 Dubai Airshow, the crash that stunned the world. It was the final day of the Dubai Airshow 2025 Friday, November 21st. The air was electric with anticipation. Aviation enthusiasts, journalists, defense officials, and military representatives from across the globe were gathered at Al Maktoum International Airport, the proud host of one of the world's most prestigious air exhibitions. The Indian Air Force was scheduled to deliver one of the day's most awaited performances. The HAL Tejas, India's light combat aircraft, developed by Hindustan Aeronautics, limited taxied onto the runway. At the controls was Wing Commander Namanj Sial, an experienced and highly respected pilot. According to Reuters, the incident occurred at approximately 2:10 p.m. local time during a high-intensity aerobatic demonstration. The aircraft began executing a series of rapid rolls and high G turns, thrilling the crowd. Videos shared by spectators show the Tejas performing a negative G maneuver, a complex display that requires absolute precision and perfect control. But then, something went terribly wrong. The jet suddenly lost altitude, dipping nose down into a steep descent. For a few seconds, an eerie silence swallowed the arena. Then impact. The aircraft crashed and exploded, sending a towering plume of black smoke over the runway. Emergency sirens screamed to life. Crowds gasped in horror, their cameras shaking in trembling hands. Within minutes, news alerts flashed worldwide, and a single name emerged from the smoke: Wing Commander Namanj Sial. The Associated Press confirmed that the pilot was killed instantly upon impact. The world of aviation froze. This wasn't just another crash. This was a military showcase, watched live by global buyers, defense ministers, and military alliances. Every camera turned, every question burned, and every headline exploded. The pride of India's defense industry had fallen in front of the entire world. International media reacted instantly. Reuters reported that the tragedy sent shockwaves through both defense and diplomatic circles. This was especially damaging because the event was happening in a competitive export environment, where India hoped to position the Tejas as a strong contender against global aircraft like the JF-17 Thunder, the F-16 Viper. To understand the weight of this tragedy, you have to understand what the Tejas represented. It wasn't just a machine. It was a national symbol. The HAL Tejas, a lightweight, single-engine, multi-role fighter, was designed to replace India's aging fleet of MiG-21s. Built over decades of development, filled with challenges, redesigns, and immense national pressure, the Tejas carried the hopes and expectations of an entire country. The Tribune noted that the crash delivered a major blow to India's efforts to market the Tejas internationally, especially with sales talks underway with countries like Argentina, Malaysia, and Egypt. But Hindustan Aeronautics Limited, the manufacturer, insisted the crash was an isolated occurrence. They issued a statement saying there would be no impact on operations or export negotiations. And yet, the world watched closely, because every military aircraft crash carries consequences that extend far beyond the wreckage itself. So, what went wrong? How could an experienced pilot and a modern fighter jet crash during a controlled demonstration? What happened inside that cockpit in those final fatal seconds? And why did the aircraft fail to recover? The mystery began almost immediately. Experts started analyzing footage frame by frame, Based on verified reports, a few preliminary hypotheses emerged. The first theory suggests a loss of control during the negative G maneuver. Videos from the ground show the aircraft performing a altitude negative G turn, after which it failed to pull up in time. This is consistent with either a pilot blackout or a sudden aerodynamic stall. A scenario also reported in Indian media analyses and quoted by Navbharat Times. The second hypothesis points to an extremely low altitude error. In air shows, safety margins are razor thin. 1 second of miscalculation can be the difference between a spectacular display and a fatal accident. A third possibility is a sudden technical failure. While some social media users claim to have seen a fluid leak earlier in the day, official sources clarified that the footage being circulated actually showed condensation trails, not an engineering malfunction. This was later confirmed by international outlets like the Global Times. A fourth theory considers the high workload and stress of aerobatic displays. High-performance flying puts immense strain on pilots, even the most experienced ones. The Indian Air Force stated that the true cause would only be determined after a thorough scientific investigation of the flight data recorder and wreckage. Behind every aircraft is a story, but inside every cockpit is a heartbeat. Wing Commander Namanj Sial was not an ordinary pilot. He was a decorated Indian Air Force officer with years of flight experience. He was chosen to represent the courage and image of Indian pride in front of a global audience. His death was mourned across India and the entire aviation community worldwide. Back at the Airshow, crowds stood silently as officials announced the tragedy. Flags were lowered, performances were paused. A day that was meant for celebration turned into an international moment of grief and reflection. Defense analysts immediately began to question the future of the Tejas program. The Tribune reported that the crash dampens export hopes, noting that military procurement committees are extremely sensitive to an aircraft's safety record. But others argued the opposite. One incident, they said, does not define an entire program. After all, aviation history is full of aircraft that failed publicly before going on to achieve great success, including American F-16s, Russian Sukhoi jets, and even the French Rafale. The debate over the Tejas' future is just beginning. What will the official investigation reveal? And what does this tragic event mean for India's ambitions as a global defense player? The smoke had barely cleared. The twisted remains of the Tejas still being lifted from the Dubai runway, when the world took a breath. The silence after the fire was deafening, not just in Dubai, but across every nation watching live. We stood in that moment of shock, witnessing the instant where pride turned into disbelief. But outside the chaos of the crash site, a different storm was already beginning to form. A storm not made of flames, but of questions, doubt, and global scrutiny. Because when a fighter jet falls from the sky in the middle of the world's biggest aviation show, it doesn't just break metal, it breaks confidence. And confidence is the most expensive material in the defense industry. And so, as the wreckage cooled, another battle began. A diplomatic, financial, and reputational battle. Around the world, defense analysts, military buyers, and strategy think tanks were not watching the crash replay for tragedy. They were reading between the sparks. They were calculating risk. This is where the story shifts. From the shock of impact, to the shock waves felt across the global defense market. From emotional loss to economic consequence. From national heartbreak to international critique. When a nation's golden showcase stumbles, the echo doesn't vanish in the hangar. It ripples through boardrooms, procurement offices, and foreign capitals. On November 21, 2025, the display of India's homegrown fighter jet turned into a moment of reckoning, not just for the pilot lost, but for the promise sold to the world. For global buyers, trust is the currency, and this failure was brutally public. The Dubai Airshow is one of the most important venues where nations parade their military capability and buyers gauge performance. When the TJs crashed during a public display, it wasn't just an accident. It was a vivid demonstration of risk in a very exposed environment. From the perspective of an international procurement officer, the images flashing across screens conveyed more than smoke and wreckage. They conveyed question marks over the aircraft's ability to operate fault-free under stress, the maturity of the production and support ecosystem behind it, and the reliability of the brand being pitched for export. As one expert was quoted by Reuters, "The imagery is brutal. A crash sends quite the opposite signal. A dramatic failure. India's ambition for the Tejas was significant. Beyond replacing worn-out MiG-21s domestically, the jet was expected to be the linchpin of India's defense export strategy." Before the accident, potential deals were reportedly in motion across Asia, Africa, and Latin America. But the crash raised an immediate red flag. Will buyers trust a machine whose showcase demonstration ended in disaster? Will export orders now be delayed or canceled, pending a track record of safe performance? Will rivals use this moment to push competing offers more aggressively? Observers say the crash leaves the jet reliant on Indian military orders to sustain its role as a showcase of home-built defense technology. Yet, industrial realities bite. Delayed deliveries, engine supply chain bottlenecks, and a previous crash in 2024 added to the weight of this moment. Global buyers operate less on sentiment and more on risk mitigation. For them, a fighter jet purchase is a decades-long commitment involving spares, service networks, training, and lifecycle costs. In that light, a public crash raises the perceived risk premium. Negotiations slow down as due diligence becomes harsher. Governments may ask for performance guarantees, insurance clauses, or simply turn to more established vendors. One former executive from HAL, the manufacturer, told media bluntly, "The crash in Dubai rules out exports for now." International delegations at the Airshow, reportedly, took note of the contrast. India's TJ's crash and Pakistan's rival JF-17 Thunder being displayed as battle-tested. For India's defense export narrative, the timing could not have been worse. Where the Tejas previously had a differentiation in its cost and indigenous content, now the narrative must contend with the loss of its untested but promising positioning. It faces heightened comparisons to other light fighters, and potential buyers will become more cautious or ask for deeper discounts. The crash gives rivals rhetorical ammunition. If a modern display fails, how will it operate in a real combat theater? The margin between marketing and performance just shrank. Moreover, financial signals responded immediately. Hindustan Aeronautics Limited, HAL, saw its shares drop 8.5% in intraday trading following the crash. International buyers will interpret this as a sign of structural risk, not just a one-off technical failure. India's broader goal to become a major defense exporter, moving from being the world's largest arms importer to a meaningful supplier, leans heavily on the success of the Tejas. The accident, therefore, illustrates deeper strategic fractures. It highlights the gap between reliability and ambition. The Tejas program has long been delayed, and the crash highlights the gap between being designed for export and proven in export-like conditions. It also amplifies questions over the maturity of the entire industrial ecosystem needed to support an export program, from logistics to spare parts. Finally, a crash weakens a country's diplomatic leverage. A nation buying Indian jets expects more than just hardware. They expect partnerships, technology transfer, and a stable supply chain. A public failure weakens that story in international bargaining. One analyst noted that while a single event does not determine a program's fate, it does significantly increase the cost of building trust. India and HAL quickly moved to position the crash as an isolated occurrence caused by exceptional circumstances. But for an international audience, words are not enough. Metrics matter. What global buyers will now demand is a transparent release of the investigation's findings, demonstrated repeatable safe flight operations, and hard evidence of a resilient service supply chain. The Tejas must now step from future promise into present performance. Imagine you are a defense procurement director in a country evaluating light combat fighters for your Air Force. You just saw a video of a TGAS crash at a major exhibition. You've read about delays in engine delivery and production. You hear that the manufacturer's shares took a hit. You note that alternative fighters are present and offering attractive service packages. You will ask, why take the risk? What guarantee do we have? And you may conclude, we'll wait, we'll compare. We'll push for more favorable terms or go for a safer option. This shift in psychology is subtle but irreversible unless it's addressed swiftly and decisively. The crash of the Tejas has handed India a moment of truth, not merely to explain what went wrong, but to prove what goes right. To an international buyer, rebuilding credibility means continuous, flawless demonstration flights. It means large-scale domestic induction showing the jet performs under operational conditions. It means transparent technical reports and global peer-reviewed validations. And it means service commitments that rival global best practices. Only then can the narrative flip from undeveloped risk to trusted capability. In the defense market arena, hardware sells, but confidence buys. A crash is not merely a failure in the air. It is a debit in the trust ledger. For India's Tejas program, the question is no longer asterisk, can asterisk we build a fighter? But will the world asterisk believe asterisk it when we sell one? The Tejas remains technically capable and the Indian ambition remains high. But now, the story of export success is not a given. It must be earned, with every flight, every engine delivered, every contract honored. Because in the architecture of trust, there can be no shortcuts. If you found this critique illuminating, share this video. Comment below. Do you believe India can still succeed in defense exports despite this setback? Subscribe for more deep dives into aerospace, strategy, and global military markets. Thank you for watching.